Story 1. I've lost weight, and now I want to divorce my husband. Sorry for the long post. We've been married for 5 years and together for 7. We also have a 3-year-old kid. After having the baby, I struggled a lot with losing the baby weight and adjusting to being a parent. I also had the baby blues at first, which was tough. I wasn't really focused on my appearance, and instead I was trying to figure out our new routine and way of life. But then, my husband started making these little comments about my body and how I should start working out and wearing makeup again. It made me feel really awful, and I worried that he might start looking elsewhere because we weren't being intimate anymore. He even suggested hiring a nanny so I could have more time for myself, but I wanted to be there for our baby full time, so I turned down the offer. That made him angry, and he started acting cold towards me. Months went by without any hugs, kisses, romance of any kind, or affection. My self-esteem hit rock bottom. Every time I looked in the mirror, all I saw were the flaws that my husband pointed out. By this time, our son was already 2 years old, and I desperately wanted to win my husband back. I thought that if I got into shape again, he would show me love and affection, and our marriage would be saved. I craved his attention so much, and it hurt to see how much things had changed, but you can't force someone to be affectionate. I took matters into my own hands and hired some help. With more free time, I started going to the gym, taking swimming classes, which are amazing for your back, by the way, getting my hair and lashes done regularly, and eating healthier. And guess what? I've lost a ton of weight, and I feel amazing. Suddenly, my husband started touching me, kissing me, buying me flowers, and treating me like the complete opposite of how he treated me before. You'd think that would make me feel better, but for some reason, it made me feel worse. All I could think about were the hurt feelings he said to me when I was at my lowest and how cold he was towards me. I get that you can't force attraction, but why couldn't he just hug me or give me a kiss on the cheek even when I was overweight? Why couldn't he love me as a human being and the mother of his child? When my self-esteem came back, I got really angry at myself for putting up with his behavior for so long. A few days ago, I told him I wanted a divorce because I don't think I can move past how badly he treated me. He apologized and promised to change and prove that he can be better, but honestly, I'm not sure if I can trust him again. What if I gain weight again or have to deal with health issues? Will he treat me like garbage again? I've talked to some friends and family about the whole situation, and some say I should give him another chance, while others say I should leave him. So I'm turning to Reddit for some advice. Am I justified in being upset over this? Do you think it's possible for my husband to change his behavior for the long term, or is a divorce the right move here? So genuinely the only person who can answer this is you. You need to take some time to think about it. But what I will say is that your husband's treatment of you was crap. That's garbage. Like, I know you say like you can't force affection and stuff like that. You shouldn't have to in a good partnership. You should understand that partners are going to change, because guess what? You're going to get older. It just happens. You can't stop that. And your body is going to change. You know what? A lot of people as they get older they kind of gain weight. Their bodies change, whatever. You might not want to, you shouldn't have to put on makeup if you don't want to. Who cares? But if you want to, go for it. It's the fact that his love was so conditional on you keeping up standards, and the fact that he was like, being like, you should take more time to do this. Maybe we'll get a nanny so you can look good for me again. Like, I'm sure he didn't put it like that. But all I'm saying is, not okay. Just none of that was okay. And yeah, maybe he could improve and learn from that, but whether or not you have to wait and see if he actually does after he screwed up that bad, that's up to you. Story 2. Today, I effed up by soaking myself with stale beer before school. Clearly a long time ago, but I did remember this today, and it seems like a good story. Growing up, my kid neighbors and I walk not quite a mile down a dead-end rural road that our houses are on out to the main road where we waited for the school bus to pick us up each day. Sometimes it comes early, sometimes it comes late, so we get there even earlier and have to wait. This is boring, so we mess around looking for things to do, and we can wander a bit because we hear the bus coming from a ways off in time to get back to the pickup location. One day, we find an unopened 6-pack of beer cans under some leaves in a nearby wooded area. Being only in 5th grade or younger, we have zero thoughts of drinking it. The taste for beer hasn't been acquired yet, and even if so, this clearly isn't still good judging from how faded the cans look. It's been there a while. I'm debating what to do about it. Should we all tell an adult? Another kid says, nah, let me show you a cool trick my older brother shows me. He takes a can out of the plastic rings, shakes it up real good, and throws it against a rock. It explodes in a cloud of beer foam. Apparently it's extra fermented at this point. Wow, that was pretty cool. I say, let me try. I took a can and shook it. Unfortunately, my timing is off with my release when I throw it, and instead of the safely distant rock, I hit the ground right in front of me. Pop, kerwoosh! It explodes at my feet with an even more impressive cloud of foam, which goes mostly on me. I am drenched with old beer. Besides being cold and wet, it was cold out, I suddenly noticed the smell, like old stadium floor and frat house trash bin times 10. The others are laughing at me, of course, only to be interrupted by a smartly non-participating kid up the road yelling, "Bus!" as was our custom. I had no time to think or do anything, and going back home wasn't an option. I willed myself to get on the bus after stopping and stammering to the driver for some kind of explanation. There was no escaping the smell. It was impossible not to notice from a fair distance even after it had mostly dried. Fortunately, the longish bus ride, sorry kid who had the seat next to me, gave me time to better compose my explanation, which was fully the truth about what happened. I dutifully and awkwardly explained it to every adult I dealt with in school that day. My main teacher just laughed, but I was necessarily sent to explain myself to the principal, head of the school, just I guess because they wanted to make sure I wasn't in some kind of bad situation. My good reputation and my more polished explanation seemed to satisfy him that no action was needed. However, I could see him just shaking his head when I looked back as I left. No doubt, I was the feature story in the teacher's lounge that day. Honestly, I'm mostly just fixated on how fun that would be with, over-fermented beer and just, that sounds like a great time! I mean, and I'm a 40-year-old adult, you know? I get it why a 5th grader would want to do that. Sure, sounds fun. How'd you hit the ground instead of the faraway rock, though? What kind of, you were not on the baseball team, were you? That's barely coordinated enough to be on the t-ball team. I don't know, it doesn't speak great for your athletic prowess, but your ability to perform unintended physical comedy. Now, there you got some chops. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to apologize for calling out my aunts at a wedding? I, 26 female, have been with my partner, 27 female, for 5 years, and we're getting married next year. Overall, the wedding planning has gone pretty smoothly until now. For context, there's a large age gap in my family when it comes to the grandchildren on my mother's side. My dad's an only child. My mother had me in her mid-20s, and my aunts waited until they were in their late 30s to have kids, so I've just been more of an extra aunt to a lot of my cousins, as there's about 4 of them, all between 6 and 10, all girls, except for my cousin Kate, 25 female, who's the daughter of my mother's older brother. Now, I love my family, I do, but my aunts have always been the kind of parents who never say no to their precious children, and that has resulted in them being spoiled brats. Over the last decade, there has not been one family event that hasn't been ruined in some capacity by a child having a tantrum over something stupid. In the last year alone, we've had tantrums over not wanting to leave a party even though the party place was closing, not having the correct flavor of strawberry ice cream at our grandfather's 85th birthday, or just getting a pack of hair bows that didn't match each other's, and many others that, to be honest, the reason why are so stupid, they feel made up. And these tantrums are bad. Like the full screaming, pounding the floor, and enough tears to water a field until their mothers give in to their demands. The husbands are just real walkovers, to be honest, and let their wives deal with the kids. It took a long time to even bring my partner to one of our many family events just because I always knew these tantrums were going to happen and I didn't want to scare her away. I work with kids, so I know this is beyond not normal behavior of kids, and I know the lack of discipline is to blame, but I've never been in the position to call it out, because in my family it's very much if you don't have kids of your own, of how to raise them doesn't count, but as the kids have gotten older, it's gotten so much worse. Now on to the wedding planning. We're not having a large wedding because neither of us want it. Between our family members, we want there and our friends. It's just over 100 people. My partner's family has no kids under 16, and when the idea of having a child-free wedding came up, it was clear my partner liked the idea of no one under 16, and to be honest, I was happy with it as well, as our dogs were going to fill the roles of ring bearer and flower girl anyway, and we both knew there was going to be at least one tantrum, and neither of us wanted to subject our friends and her family to those. My parents and grandparents agreed that it would be nice to have no kids for a change, and with that, we sent the invitations out. Not long after the invitations went out, we had my cousin Kate's wedding. She grew up 3 hours away and hasn't turned up to really any family events in the last decade, but her mother made her invite everyone to show off as there were over 400 people. Don't get me wrong, you could tell a lot of money was put into the event, and it was lovely, but I personally wouldn't have liked it for my day. Her new husband had a niece and nephew, so they did the flower girl and ring bearer roles. And yes, there were tantrums thrown when that news broke. And it only took 5 minutes into the wedding for a tantrum to happen because one of the kids wanted to sit in the front and not a few pews back. My partner has gotten into the habit after 4 years of these events of keeping track of the tantrums on her notes app, and she counted 3 in the church alone. It only got worse as it was raining after, and the kids didn't want to wear jackets to get into the car, and many tears happened. The meal wasn't much better, but thankfully we were at the head table with my grandparents away from it, but you couldn't not hear the whining and shouting occasionally throughout the meal. Things got bad when, at some point before dessert, 2 of the kids came up to me and asked why they were not invited to my wedding as they had been for Kate's. A bit stunned, I just replied that the place we were having, it was only for adults. That obviously was the wrong answer, because almost immediately, another tantrum about how apparently their parents had promised them they would be the flower girls at my wedding erupted. Thankfully, they're small for their age, so it was pretty easy to pick them up and move them away from the head table, which was on a stage and away from people staring. While this was happening, my parents were confronted by my aunts, asking how was it that their kids were not invited. My parents just repeated the same thing as I had said, and this also wasn't good enough. At this point, my grandfather and I were behind them with 2 of their screaming children. I honestly don't know what came over me, but I blurted out, "You really cannot see why I might not want to have your children there on my wedding day. Can you please stop discussing this right now? Is not the time and people are already staring at us," and left. Well, let's just say that while most of my family agreed with what I said, now my aunts are refusing to attend the wedding until I apologize to them and their kids and invite them. Some family members think it was the wrong time to say anything or just apologize to keep the peace, but honestly, I don't want to, as I don't think what I said was that bad, especially considering the thing I knew that the groom's family were saying after the wedding from what I heard from Kate and her new husband. You were 110% in the right to say that then and there, because you know for a fact she sent her kids over to you to say that stuff to try and convince you or whatever. Or if not, her parents just had no right to be bringing up your wedding to them in the first place to be like, yep, she's having a wedding and you're not invited. You had to know this would happen. And then the fact that they're throwing a tantrum, and as parents, you're doing a terrible job parenting, just letting them have all these tantrums during a wedding. And then you're bringing up why can't they? Why can't they do it? We promised them they could be the flower girls. No, if you're going to be saying all that stuff during a wedding, you're going to get talked back to during a wedding. And frankly, I think the fact that they're well, fine, then we won't attend your wedding either unless you invite all of us. That's a win-win. Good, you don't have the kids there and you don't have your crappy aunts there. Hooray! Better wedding for it. Story 4. I had my promotion offer retracted because my boss learned I was getting married. First ever Reddit post, I'll try to make all of this understandable. Posting this here too, as I don't really have anyone to vent to about this. Background, 22 female, works for a fast food chain for the past 2.5 years, engaged since May 2019. So back in January, my manager brought me into the office and offered me a promotion. She was relaying the info from the owner. The promotion was to become a shift manager at one of the other restaurants in my city. I would obviously get a pay raise, better hours, more consistent, and various other perks. I initially told her I needed to think about taking it, but I was definitely excited and enthusiastic. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with her to discuss some questions I had about the job. What benefits, where was I working, training, etc. One of my questions was whether it was reasonable to request as part of my new contract to have the week of my wedding off in August. She said absolutely and would ask the owner for me if that could be written into the contract. Wednesday, I go into her office to ask about any new info or developments. She shut the door and said that the offer had been retracted and I would not be getting the promotion. She explained that the owner had decided to retract the offer after learning I was getting married and that a young woman getting married means she's going to get pregnant. She also said that if you were a man, we would not be having this conversation. I was, still am, absolutely gobsmacked. It's the first time in my life that I've ever felt sexism or discrimination based on my sex in my entire life. I'm so effing angry. I've essentially now lost my job. Still currently employed there, but I have no desire to continue working there whatsoever. I feel utterly disgusted and somewhat dirty, even though I did nothing wrong. I love working there, and all the people at my restaurant have not done anything to me, but it's the fact that I would be working for an owner that is so blatantly sexist. I've gone and sought legal advice at an equality organization in my city and am waiting for a response from the person in charge. I've also opened a complaint in my company's HR department, who have asked me to contact the owner directly to understand exactly why I haven't gotten this promotion. They said that I/my manager may have misunderstood the reason why. Oh yeah, you may have misunderstood the phrasing of, oh, newly married woman might get pregnant, and if you were a man, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah, I'm sure that was misunderstood. No, HR, shut the F up and do your job. Quit just trying to protect this owner who sounds like a piece of garbage. God, I hate people like that. Just, no. Give her the promotion. Oh, she might get pregnant. Who cares? What if she does? She could get pregnant and not be married, you absolute idiot. You absolute piece of garbage, dumb idiot. God! Oh, she's married. That means baby. I don't understand nothing more than that because I don't think at all. I just act and I'm just so mad. I'm so mad. This person, I hope you got a better job. Somewhere that appreciates you more and isn't run by an absolute just slimy eel. Story 5. My postpartum wife wants to leave our baby to go on a vacation. My wife, 30 female, and I, 32 male, have been together for 4 years and currently have a 16-month-old daughter. We both split work 50-50, and despite this, I acknowledge how it is more physically challenging for her with the postpartum phase and constant, regressive now, breastfeeding. Our daughter cluster feeds and doesn't like the bottle very much, so that's that. I'm also very pro-therapy, so regardless of any evaluations, I encouraged her to attend a few sessions, and she and her therapist both agree that she does not have postpartum depression. I'm letting everyone know this because I really want to be able to find a way to talk sense into her without putting all of it on depression. Anyway, my wife and I have had a huge fight over something. She says that she's tired from feeling like a mom and wants to take a vacation for 4 weeks with her friend who is based in Europe. Her reasoning for going for 4 weeks is that she gets to earn it after childbirth and 1.5 years of being a mom. She also says she has her own savings and how she always dreamt of exploring Europe, so this is her chance and she wants her identity back. I disagreed with her and told her that priorities are bound to change and she cannot expect to have a single life back. I would happily step up and take on her share of childcare if she wanted to do a weekend trip or a spa day and would fully support that. Apparently, that's not enough for her. I told her if she wants to really do something about her savings, it would be great if we could do something maybe as a couple or a family together because I also deserve a break as much as she does. I told her how selfish she is choosing to spend her savings entirely on herself when I nearly exhausted my personal savings on a large family expense. I told her I cannot fathom the idea of a mom wanting to be away from her toddler for nearly a month, and almost shamed her for it. May make me an a-hole, but emotions were high and I was angry. And it was making things difficult for me because I realistically would have to exhaust my PTO and be both mom and dad to our baby. I told her I cannot stay in a relationship with someone who cannot compromise with me on this. She started crying and told me she wants to feel like herself again, and I told her she definitely can do something this weekend as well, but her propositions are highly unrealistic. It seems that she does not want to accept things as they are. I suggest maybe she could get therapy and told her I won't accept the unacceptable and how I was condescending to her in therapy. Can someone please share what I should say to her? Yeah, I'm gonna have to side with the guy here on this one for sure. Like, look, granted, yes, absolutely. Her body went through a whole hell of a lot more. Not just in the 1.5 years of being a mom and breastfeeding, but also the 9 months before that, being pregnant. Like, that is a lot. That is extremely tough, and absolutely no shade for her needing a bit of a break or something. But that break could maybe be for, some odd weeks, the husband taking more of a role, like taking more of that 50-50. Make it 30-70 for a while. Give her more of a break. Give her more time to, like, go out and do some stuff or whatever, I don't know exactly what's happening in the relationship, if she's working or not, or if she's a stay-at-home mom or whatever. But do some stuff to give her more of a break. Maybe, 9 months where you're carrying the load a little bit longer, if you get my meaning. I'm just saying, again, I'm just reiterating my same point. I think I'd be totally fine with that. But to be like, no, I'm tired of being a mom. I'm going to go on vacation for 4 weeks. I'm going to force you to take all of your work vacation to just be a stay-at-home dad while I go have this fun. And also him having to spend all that money. Yeah, I don't think that is fair at all. And it seems like he's at least trying to offer some stuff. I don't know about just like, you take a weekend and I'll watch the baby and then things will be good. No, I don't think that's quite enough. I think there could be a better compromise in there, but there needs to be some kind of work together compromise and not just, hey, for 4 weeks, I'm out. Story 6. Am I the a-hole for not giving my possibly pregnant baby daddy's girlfriend his contact after she threatened to break apart my family? Current living situation. I, 39 female, live in a house with Tom, 40 male, Ben, 43 male, and our 5 children, 12 male, 11 male, bio Tom and mine, 10 female, 8 female, bio Ben's and his late wife Anna, 7 female, bio Ben's and mine, Ben and I work. Tom's been a stay-at-home dad since 11 male was 2. He went back to school after 4 years. Ben and I cover all household expenses, including any cost for Tom's education. Background. Tom and I met at a party when we were 19. We've been friends ever since, with benefits at times we were both single. While on a holiday together, a condom broke on us. Due to location emergency, contraception wasn't available, and when I turned out to be pregnant, we chose to keep that kid and move in together. We were never a couple, but worked great as a family, so we decided to have a second kid. Anna was my childhood best friend. She and Ben moved into the flat downstairs from ours when she was pregnant with 10 female. I love having her close again after living in different cities for years. Sadly, she passed away after a very complicated second labor. Ben and I found solace in each other, and I ended up pregnant. I didn't notice right away, as my method of contraception should have been safe, and I also blamed a lot of the symptoms on grief and guilt, so when I found out there wasn't really any alternative anymore. Tom was the first one I told. He said he'd welcome another child into our family. Ben was shocked and really struggled to accept it, but we kept in good contact through all of it. We all started having dinner most nights after 7 female was born. 10 female and 8 female would already spend the day as Tom was their nanny. A couple of years later, my grandma moved into retirement home and Tom and I decided to move to her house. Ben asked if he could move in with us and we agreed. It's maybe unusual, but works for us. Where I might be the a-hole. Tom's been with B for the last 3 years. There was some talk about him asking her to move in about a year ago, but he never did. B and I get along. Not best friends, but I like spending time with her. Well, liked. She showed up unannounced 3 days ago and demanded to see Tom. He's currently on a skiing trip with Ben and the boys. I reminded her of that and then said I will tell him to contact her if there's an emergency. She then proceeds to tell me that she is pregnant with Tom's child, highly unlikely, and that she already talked to his parents and they will buy them a house next to theirs so that they can live there as a family, and that they will be taking the boys with them. That's when I told her to leave, which after some yelling and insults, she did. I've been called multiple times by her best friend, and Tom's parents to try and get his contact, but I'm still refusing to give it away. They've been calling me an a-hole among other names for not letting him know that 1, B is pregnant, 2, he doesn't need to be abused and exploited anymore. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really follow a lot of that. There's so many names and ages thrown in all at once. And okay, Tom was the first guy. They were never a couple. Ben had a wife. There's so much going on here. This feels like the worst math problem I've ever had, and I don't know how fast the trains are going when the one leaves New York and the other one leaves LA. I don't know where they're gonna meet. What do you do here? I don't know. Just call Call Tom. Leave Tom a message and say, hey, this is what happened. Call her if you want. I don't know. Why do you have to give her his information? Give him the information and let him do with it what he will. I think, is that reasonable, or am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something. I don't understand what's going on. I just want to take a nap. I'm done. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.